Good evening and welcome everybody to the meeting of the Board of Directors of the Joshua Basin Water District. I need someone to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Who wants to do that? Do I have any volunteers? I got to choose somebody. Okay, I heard somebody. Is that you, Jim? All right.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jim. Take it away.
All right. Ready? Begin. I pledge of allegiance
To the
to the
flag
Flag
of the United States of America and to the
republic for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very nice. Very nice. General Manager Band, do we have a quorum? You want to give us a roll call, please?
Absolutely. President Unger,
Here.
Vice President Flowen,
Here.
Director Reynolds,
Here.
Director Doolittle,
here,
and Director Jarlsberg.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Now do I have an approval of the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mike. I have a second.
I'll second it.
Second, Jane. Anyone want to pull anything, discuss anything?
Looks good to me.
I liked it. Well, let's do a roll call then and on the agenda.
Perfect. Director Jarlsberg,
Aye.
Director Doolittle,
aye,
Director Reynolds,
Aye.
Vice President Flowen,
Aye.
and President Unger.
Aye. This is the time set aside for public comment. Any district-related matter not appearing on the agenda. Government code prohibits the board from taking action on these items, but they can be referred for future consideration. If you want to speak up, please state your name and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. A lot of times we take a written request before the meeting starts. Ms. Wozak, did we get any written requests?
No, ma'am.
Anyone here all of a sudden got something on their mind? Nope. Okay, no public comment. Thank you. Consent calendar. We have the February 2021 check register. This did go through the Finance Committee last week. And also 2 sets of draft minutes. One from the special meeting of March 17th, and then the regular meeting of April 7th. Anyone want to make any?
President Unger?
Did I get that mixed up?
Yes.
The special meeting was April 7th. The regular meeting was March 17th.
And then we have the regular meeting of April 7th after the special meeting.
Say that again. We have minutes for April 7th. Oh, right, with the closed session.
So you had a special meeting at 4, and then we had a regular meeting at the regular time on April 7th.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, I have my pages stuck together. And the regular meeting on March 17th. I hope everybody else was a little more clear about that than I was. Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Okay, Vice President Flowen?
I second.
Who was that?
Stacy Doolittle.
Stacy, Director Doolittle, thank you. Anyone want to pull anything or talk about something or question something?
President
Register.
Unger, we need to do that before we have a first and a second on the floor.
Oh, sorry. Oops.
So now we need a roll call.
Okay.
General Manager Ben?
President Unger,
Aye.
Vice President Flowen,
Aye.
Director Reynolds,
Aye.
Director Doolittle,
Aye.
Director Jarlsberg.
Aye.
Now can we talk about it? Or is it too late?
It's
I always
already
get
approved. You have to
Okay.
move on to the next agenda item.
I always get this stuff mixed up. Well, the next agenda item is really neat. We're looking at appointing 2 new members to our Citizens Advisory Council. General Manager Van, do you want to start this off for us?
Sure. I'd like to introduce Miss Hannah Campbell and Miss Kathy Carrillo, both present today. And for lack of completely losing my voice, I think it'd be a good opportunity for both of them to introduce themselves to the board and allow for some brief questioning and before appointments. Ms. Campbell, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself first.
Hello, my name is Hannah. And yeah, I can answer questions.
Well, welcome, Hannah. We're really happy that you want to be on the CAC.
Well, thank you.
Could you, I thought both of the resumes were very impressive, but would you remind me or us where you live, possibly what district you live in?
I live in Joshua Tree and I'm up here by Sunfair. So I'm not sure which district that is, but
I think that's Director Reynolds. Is that District 2?
Uh,
I forget also, but I'm just curious.
okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one then.
But
It is.
Sunfair is your community?
Sorry, could you
Really?
say that again, ma'am?
Sunfair is your community?
Yes, I'm kind of like in the middle there because I'm like a little bit away from Sunfair, so I'm kind of like right smack dab in the middle. I'm on 4th Street. So
Okay. And how long have you been there?
I've lived here almost 5 years.
Okay, thank
But I
you.
grew up here. I lived in Yucca Valley when I was a kid, so.
I lived in Sunfair in the 80s and I still have a place in my heart for it. So I'm just curious.
It's a nice place.
Director Doolittle, any questions for Hannah?
No, I read her statement and I looked at her qualifications and I'm delighted that she is going to become a member of the CAC. Thank you, Hannah.
Oh, thank you.
Director Reynolds?
I have no questions or concerns. You look good. And hopefully we can welcome you to the CAC.
Vice President Flowen?
Hello. Hannah is a regular visitor to the farmers market on Saturdays. She spends a considerable amount of time with us there. And so I'm very familiar with her personality and her, I would say her character too. It's very impressive that she's a school teacher in our local district. And I just think it's wonderful that she's willing to contribute some of her time to what we do here. That's all I have.
And Tom, I would take you as a good character reference on that. Hannah, your name is familiar. Are you an artist?
Yes, I am.
I think I've seen you on the art tours.
Yeah, I was in the art tours the last year that they had it. Before
Yeah, you've absolutely charming work. And you've been an artist in our demonstration garden on Water Education Day? Right.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I'm so glad you want to be on our Citizens Advisory Council. It's a great place to start, and we will welcome you. Let's see. And then General Manager Ben, do we vote on them together? Do we approve
Yeah,
their?
we could appoint them both at the same time.
Okay.
So now
And then we
we'll move
have
on to Ms.
Go ahead.
Carrillo. Any opening remarks? I see you got some gentleman sitting next to you there.
Oh,
Oh, it's her turn.
yeah. I'm Kathy or Kat Carrillo, and I've lived here in Joshua Tree a little over 7 years, and I love Joshua Tree. I think we're considered downtown district, right? Kind of on the
We're on a side of it, I
northeast
guess.
side of the downtown district. on Center Avenue. Yep.
I believe they're in Mike Reynolds' district division.
Yes. I think so.
Thank you.
I would like to ask Kathy, what was
Yes. Kathy's fine. Kat is fine.
it? Why do you want to be on CAC other than you live with David?
Well, there's that. I kind of grew up around water. My dad worked for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power for over 30 years. And I mean, I used to go to Hoover Dam with him, and he would work there for weeks at a time. And it's kind of, I guess, a part of me. Yeah, and it's important to me, the community and the people, and especially water. So, yeah.
Director Doolittle.
I have no questions for Kathy. It was a very impressive resume, and I'm delighted also that you are going to be a member of the CAC.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. I'm honored. Thank you.
Director Reynolds.
Well, wonderful. Kat, well, I've known you for a few years because of Dave, and I'm glad to have you apply for this position as well. I have no concerns or any other questions.
Vice President Flowen.
Well, Kathy, we haven't met to my knowledge, but what I was impressed with the resume. You have some pretty broad business experience there, and this water company is it is a business, and it's a very complicated one, saturated with all sorts of laws and regulations and such budget things, as we're going to talk about a little bit later. And so I think the glove fits the hand very well. So I'm most pleased to have you applying for the position with us. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
I was actually kind of blown away by your resume. And thank you so much for wanting to be here with David. Good work. Good work. And absolutely, you can see all of your incredible background in management and administration and putting together events. And that's, all that is really very impressive. And I'm so happy that you want to join us and start out here on the CAC with us. And Mark, let's take it to the floor.
Sounds good.
President Unger,
Yes.
we need a motion to approve.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of new members to the Citizens Advisory Council, Ms. Hannah Campbell and Mrs. Kathy Carrillo?
I'll make that motion for both.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I have Director Jarlsberg for a first, and I have Director Reynolds for a second.
I think everyone wanted to get in on this. General Manager Ban.
Director Jarlsberg,
Yes.
Director Doolittle,
Yes, aye.
Director Reynolds,
Aye to both.
Vice President Flowen,
Aye.
and President Unger.
Aye.
Welcome. Thank you.
President Unger, could I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
I'm hoping all of you folks stay for this meeting. I think it will be educational.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be too tricky, but you will learn some stuff for sure. And on to that, item number 8 is the adoption of the district's budget policy. This is recommended that the board review this budget policy tonight. It's been through the Finance Committee, and hopefully we can approve it through resolution number 21-1030. Director of Finance, Ann Roman, take it away.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. As I said at the Finance Committee meeting, I think this is a very exciting day for the district, and that's not something that is typically said about things related to finance. However, this is a policy that has been years in the making, and it's actually going to be the district's very first budget policy. So that's what makes it so exciting. It's a compilation of language from other sources, as well as detailed documentation of our standing practices at the district. This policy will provide more concrete guidance for budget development and monitoring to responsible staff members, but it will also enable finance to be more assistance, to offer more assistance to other staff members with these efforts. And so, although we've followed relatively consistent practices for over a decade, more than 13 years that I've been here, current guidance on budgeting exists only in a very few paragraphs that are in the administrative code. And I included a little excerpt of that there. The minimal information in the administrative code leaves quite a few unanswered questions. It provides no guidance for the development of specific areas of the budget, nor does it provide much guidance for amendments and adjustments. For example, the administrative code does not indicate whether funding can be moved between the operating and capital budgets. The attached budget policy prohibits movement between the operating and capital budgets, except in cases of misclassification. This eliminates the opportunity to divert capital funds intended for infrastructure to routine operating expenses without bringing those movements to the board in advance. This new policy addresses the basics, such as philosophy, which is conservatism, preparation, maintaining a strategic plan, a capital improvement plan, a rate study. These are all important documents as a basis for a budget. And it offers guidance for handling different types of revenues and expenses and special situations such as cross-year policy. A perhaps more interesting area of the budget policy that I included addresses grants. And grants, I have to say, always sound very, very appealing, but they come with a cost. And so this budget policy, because this is not addressed elsewhere, this budget policy does include a little bit of language about grants and when those are appropriate and when they should be budgeted, and that it's important to maintain a budget for required compliance activities. Very important and not often considered in that decision up front. So in practice, one of the biggest areas of budget confusion for staff has been whether projects that are approved in the annual budget must be reapproved by the board when more detailed information is obtained. This policy eliminates the redundancy of returning to the board whenever a project has already been pre-approved in the annual budget, while still directing staff to applicable language and practices within the administrative code and purchasing and bidding policies. So just like any other new and complex policy, it would not be unexpected for this policy to require some additional review and revision after the first few years of use. Staff will bring forth such needs should they arise. And if this is approved tonight by the board of directors, the policy will become effective in time to be applied during this budget season. This is a strategic plan item. It is fits right into our item to maintain and enhance finance department protocols. And fiscal impact, what I anticipate is that better budgetary controls should enable better compliance with budget projections. So that's really my introduction there. And then I wanted to just go over a few points of the policy that I think are important. I will start by saying, as I go through this over and over again in anticipation for these meetings, I see some items already that as we develop a process, an internal process, we'll probably be able to pull a few things out of here. So I'll mention that if it comes up during the discussion. But to start, on page 26 of the packet, one of the first important points here, I think that I maybe didn't make at the Finance Committee meeting, but I did want to make sure to make it tonight, is that the preparation and monitoring of the district's budget is a collaborative effort among the department heads, finance department, and general manager. We all participate in this process. And everybody works very hard during the budget cycle to do their best to budget as accurately as they can, to project as accurately as they can for the upcoming year. And so this is not a finance department effort alone by any means. Another important item, which I alluded to in the introduction there, was that the budget, after being reviewed and adopted, shall constitute the Board of Directors' authorization of all funds for such fiscal year, and further board authorization to use funds as outlined in the approved budget is not required. Refer to Administrative Code and current purchasing bidding policy for further guidance. So that's, again, just saying that once that annual budget is approved, those items will be considered approved and won't be brought back to the board unless there is some other crucial information that needs to be shared. Moving on, or I guess I should ask for questions on that page. Should we stop for that?
I have a question. The statements that you just made that you said you kind of, sound like they're new statements. Are they going to be part of what's being in the resolution tonight? Or are they?
No, it was actually in there. The preparation and monitoring of the district's budget is a collaborative effort. It was already in there. I just didn't point it out in the Finance Committee meeting. So yes, it's not something that impacts the resolution. The resolution refers to the budget policy as a whole, and that was and is still in the policy.
So this is still under the responsibilities and calendars section.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, all right.
That is correct.
Anybody else? I'm sorry. Hearing none, proceed.
All right, page 27. I thought I'd point out under section C, the balanced budget, that the district shall make every attempt possible to adopt a structurally balanced budget. A budget is structurally balanced when it does not spend more on ongoing services than it receives in ongoing revenues. There are some unusual circumstances that would allow for an unbalanced budget, such as program or maintenance startup funding, where initial costs may exceed the annual revenue. However, long-term funding of such a program allows for a balanced budget to occur in subsequent years. And moving along with that statement, really on page 28, item 6 also explains that the balancing of operating revenues and operating expenditures is a goal that should be applied over a period of time, which extends beyond the current budget. Temporary shortages or operating deficits can and do occur, but will not be permitted as extended trends. Any other comments or questions on page 27? Okay, moving on to page 28. So under item D, budget development, the vision, item 1, the budget shall be constructed around the Board of Directors' vision for the long-term direction of district services and the associated desired culture and environment. When appropriate, the general manager shall utilize a strategic planning process, including a needs assessment of priorities, challenges, and opportunities to assist with the establishment of both short-term and long-term goals. So we do currently have a strategic plan in place. It's a few years old. However, there is a plan, and that's something that each department head should consider when building their budget needs. Item 4, rate study. So rate study is an important basis for a budget. We have been doing a rate study every 5 years, and this policy recommends that we also do a rate study every 5 years. The rate study provides projected revenues and expenses based on needs identified as the rates are developed. But the rate study in itself does not place any automatic restrictions on the budget. That must happen through the budget process itself. Okay, any questions on that page before I move on? No? Okay. Page 29, item 3. Okay, this goes back to what I just said. Rate studies are considered every 5 years to update assumptions and ensure that revenues are sufficient to recover operating costs and to provide for annual capital work. The completion of rate studies and consideration of rate adjustments are important to address on a timely basis. In doing so, the district can adopt rate adjustments that match the continued level of service provided slowly over time rather than creating reactionary adjustments that are abrupt and much harder for customers to adjust to. Item 7, meter installation fees, capacity fees, plan check fees, inspection fees, and mainline reimbursement fees, etc., are not budgeted due to their unpredictable customer-initiated nature and the legally restricted status of some of these revenues. Number 8, development customers, from anything between single meter purchases to major projects, shall contribute revenue to match 100% of costs related to their project, including applicable overhead. One-time exceptions to be approved by the general manager. One-time revenues will be used only for one-time purposes, so that really refers to grants. Basically, grants are given for a specific purpose, and those revenues should be used for that specific purpose. Under item F, expense policies. This is also an item that I referred to in my staff report. The general manager shall have the authority to move budgets among operating accounts rather than moving back and forth between the operating and the capital budget, except for in cases of misclassification. We want to try to limit those adjustments or movements to within the operating budget or within the capital budget and not between the two. Any questions on page 29?
I have one question. It was back to the rate study policy of every 5 years. I don't remember there being a policy or adopting such policy. Do you have any idea when that was adopted?
No, there's no policy that I'm aware of. It says rate studies shall be considered every 5 years. So because this is an important study, an important document for us to base a budget upon, it really is something that the budget policy touches upon. Now, should we have a separate policy that drives that? I don't know. I'm not sure if that's really enough to stand on its own. So it's mentioned in here. It's not. It is not mandated.
Okay, so you're suggesting it.
Yes, it's recommended. It's recommended.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, you know, that will always be brought forth to be considered by the board before that happens. So that's a major event.
Yeah, there's a whole process to
Absolutely.
study or even getting it started.
Absolutely.
I just didn't, that was the first I had heard of a 5-year rate study.
That's been the practice for some years. It's not mandated anywhere that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. That's my only question.
Okay.
I have a question on section E, number 2. What defines what major revenue is? What's a major revenue?
So, did we refer to it here? In section E, number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Revenue projections shall be based upon the rate study information. That one?
Yes.
Major revenues. Okay. So major revenues are like our water revenues, our basic fees. So the water being the consumption piece, and the basic fees is another huge part of our revenues. We also have our standby or water availability assessment. That is a major source of revenue for us. So I think, we're not looking at small things like miscellaneous revenues, where we might receive a refund from an overpayment on a vehicle purchase or something to that effect. This is major and consistent type of revenue.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'm moving on to page 30. Under item G, salary and benefit policies. So this is another area that always gets a little bit confusing when we present the budget. In each department, we have a salary account. However, those salary accounts are allocated, salaries are allocated by department. And some employee salaries are actually allocated to multiple departments. Because we wear so many hats in this district, our salaries may be allocated among 2 or 3. I think 3 is the maximum number of departments that any employee's salary has been allocated among. And so that is something to keep in mind whenever looking at those salary accounts in those departments on the budget spreadsheet. When also another item is that compensated leave, which is things like sick pay, vacation pay, that compensated leave pay is deducted from regular salary. A projection of that is deducted and budgeted separately, and that's because it is collected separately. It's collected as a benefit in the benefits department. So that's something to keep in mind when the budget comes through soon. All right, on item H, capital expenditures. This is basically the same statement we had for the operating budget, but in this case, the capital budget is independent from the operating budget. And item 4, the general manager shall have authority to move funds among existing budgeted capital projects. So again, we're trying not to mix and mingle funds between the operating and the capital budgets. Again, in case, except in a case of misclassification. All right, and then item I, cross-tier policy. Each year's budget is independent and does not carry forward. Any projects in progress at year end must be rebudgeted for a balance required to complete in the subsequent years. And an exception may occur where a contract has been executed, thus committing the district to the expenditure, and for whatever reason, the budget has not been, or the work has not been rebudgeted. So this is really sort of an oversight that could occur, but in any case, we do ask that those budgets are re-budgeted for the subsequent years. And but we have a little bit of an instruction here in case that doesn't happen, and we've already entered into a contract. So any questions on page 30?
Yes, I have a couple.
Okay.
So to me, this looks a little bit like some work definition for the responsible budget manager. It looked a little bit like it was defining kind of works, some of it. And I was wondering, for example, this cost for ongoing work must be rebudgeted. Can you explain that using the Tilford project as an example?
Sure. So I'm not sure what the total of the Tilford project was, but let's say that it was $1 million. And we started it in this year, 2020 through 2021 fiscal year. That will just be ending here in a couple of months. And we've only expended half of that through 2021. So for our 21-22 budget, we want to make sure that we rebudget another 500,000 to complete that project. So we have 500 and 500, 500 in each year that it's going to span. So, you know, what usually ends up happening is we have a project that is expected to be completed in a fiscal year, but then maybe we get to within a couple of months of the end of the fiscal year, and that doesn't look like it's going to happen, and it needs to move into the following fiscal year. So we just need to take whatever that balance is of the original budget and move it forward, basically.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Page 31. Item M, budget amendments and adjustments. This is another area that really hasn't been clear for us. What is specified in the administrative code was very basic, and so we've defined here the difference between an amendment and an adjustment. So an amendment is a specific change to the overall budget that increases or decreases the net revenue, whereas an adjustment is a change within the existing account lines, generally resulting in no increase or decrease in net revenue. So for an amendment, because amendments would generally fall within the existing net revenue generated by the budget, it would be within the authority of the general manager. An adjustment, however, which would change, increase or decrease the net revenue, would generally need to go to the board for approval. So I don't know if you have any questions about that in particular or anything else on this page. I think it'll be helpful to have that definition so we know exactly what how to handle those different situations. All right, I didn't have anything, well, let's see, on page 32, there's the grants section that I mentioned. And again, I think, you know, going back to what Director Reynolds asked earlier about the rate study, that I know of, we don't have anything, any document that requires us to do a rate study. And in the same sense, I don't think we have any document that speaks to how we will handle grants. And that's one of the reasons we put it in here. We put it in here for general information. We also put it in here because it gives us that guidance when those grants arise. So we know how to budget them, when to budget them, and for those who are responsible for budgeting to consider that long-term responsibility, that compliance that is so important to consider. So that's my comment about on page 32, and that's the last page. So unless there are any questions on page 32, I will just refer to the resolution on page 33, which basically adopts this budget policy into the administrative code.
Excuse me, Ann.
President.
I think Director Jarlsberg has a question.
Yes.
Yep. I wonder at some point if we're going to have a larger discussion of grants in the grant policy. In this item right here, you're recommending, it looks like, to not consider grants very much.
No.
No?
That's not the case at all. No.
Okay.
It starts actually saying grants are an essential component of district resources. It's, however, you know, it points out what those considerations should be when we're looking at grants. There are many reasons why a grant may be appropriate for us. There are many reasons why a grant may not be appropriate for us. So this just sort of gives a guideline for that, you know, to make that decision. And again, because we don't have this kind of language anywhere that I'm aware of, and this was written while Susan was still here, so this is something that she felt was important as well.
I'm sure.
I think also that last paragraph under grants really gives the instruction about how to budget for grants. And that piece is very pertinent to this policy. The prior part is, more something that we might take up in another document at some point if we have a broader discussion about grants.
Yeah, I think what, as I read this again, the part just before the bullets says a grant may be inappropriate.
Yeah.
Made me think that any grant may be inappropriate for these variety of reasons. But what you're really saying is that a possible grant may be inappropriate, so we have to consider these reasons.
Absolutely. Yeah. Grants are wonderful. However, they come with a cost.
Right.
And that's what we always need to consider, what that cost is to the district, short-term and long-term.
And you're saying that this portion hasn't been in the grant, in the budget policy in the past?
Well, we haven't had a budget policy. This is actually our first budget policy.
Okay.
However, we don't have anything that I am aware of that addresses grants at all. This could be perhaps something in the administrative code on its own. But as far as I recall, there is nothing that addresses that independently.
Well, but I'm glad to hear it because I think Stacy and I have both talked about looking into grants. I know Kathleen does that kind of thing, and
yeah,
so more direction is definitely good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Director Flowen.
Yeah, this has kind of got my attention too. And I gave it some general thought. And it just seems to me that the way we operate here, everything has to be sort of in balance. In other words, the income matches the expenses. And then we have the personnel and the equipment and the money to do the things that we need to do on a regular and basis. So if one applies for a grant, that's not just it. Applying for a grant, I think it says in here, I'm having trouble seeing it for some reason. It says in here that applying for a grant is a substantial effort of some kind. And a substantial effort translates into cost. And so it's expensive just to even apply for a grant, depending on what it is and what the amounts are and stuff. And then I'm also considering too that over time, we've been hearing the term shovel ready. And what if a grant is received, then it's not this hypothetical thing where we say, oh, someday we want to go to Mars. It comes into what are you going to shoot up there? How many people are in it? How are you going to feed them? The air, all kinds of stuff. So for a grant to be shovel ready, there has to be even deeper planning into the thing. And you may even have to I'm not sure about this part, but pre-hire or pre-purchase supplies and stuff in anticipation of the grant. This is hypothetical, in order to be shovel ready. And then you may not even get the grant, or it may be a reduced amount, that type of a thing. And then as indicated in here someplace, once something is, say if you get a grant to build a facility, like say the Golden Gate Bridge, after the bridge is built, you've got to paint it all the time. And is there enough money in your normal spending budget to be able to paint the darn thing? And if you don't paint it, it's going to rust and fall down. And so there's maintenance issues that are associated with potentially whatever the benefit of the grant is. And so it says in here in this policy that there has to be a demonstrated substantial benefit to the district for the grant and to receive the grant. And also too, if all of these costs are being generated by becoming shovel ready and researching and preparing the grant and paying all the fees and stuff like that, I'm thinking that the money, say if it is $5 or $1 million, just use a round number, you have to, it's not $1 million because you have to subtract all of that cost that you've incurred in getting the grant in the first place. So it's not really $1 million. It's something potentially less than that, unless a grant allows you to roll back and pay for all of that application process with the grant money. So this stuff, this is a boat where you got to keep your rudder in the water all the time, and carefully consider what you're getting yourself into. And I'm not. I just lost my screen here. I'm not saying that grants aren't good and they're an opportunity, because if the money's there, and it fits into what our strategic plan is and our vision and our mission and all of that, then okay. But it's just not automatically free money. If I took too long, I apologize, Madam President.
And several years ago, the state passed a bunch of bills, and we still get Prop 1 funding that gets doled out every year. And Mark, isn't that sort of in the manner of a grant as well? Some of that Prop 1, everyone competes for it. Everyone doesn't get it every year. And I don't know, do we get any Prop 1 funding this year?
No, we actually, we applied for that, but they ran out of money before they could address our area, so.
Yeah.
Well, I'd just like to say, as a new board member, how much I appreciated how well written this document was and how comprehensive it was, and how much I appreciate every time finance presents something that I see it tied to the strategic plan. And I didn't understand anything about accrual basis until I read this, and then I looked it up and read some more about that. And the relationship of the rate study to the budget became much clearer to me. So thank you so much, Anne and team.
Welcome. Thank you.
You're working it, Stacy. Good. Director Reynolds, what do you got?
Well, it's actually a matter of housekeeping as far as I'm concerned. If you want to hear what's on my mind, there's becoming a procedure and a regulation for everything. And then it's going to get to the point where there's just so many regulations and procedures, nobody's going to have any clue what to do or where to find that regulation and procedure to do something. And that could be a challenge as well. And that's something we should keep in mind. And that's what's on my mind.
Sounds like we've had the opposite problem here. We haven't had clear direction. And to think that you would have to actually codify language, that you can't move funds between operating and the capital budgets funding. I mean, that seems that you'd have to spell that out. Yeah, then do it. It's gosh, yeah. I think the problem is we haven't had enough of this. So definitely appreciate so much all the work that went in when Susan Greer was here, how you guys worked with her to put all this stuff together, have really tightened us up, and I really appreciate it. And yes, I agree with Director Dill. Very well written, easy to understand, connecting it always back to a plan document, the strategic plan, and connecting the dots to everything from the rate study to how we do this and that. So thank you very, very much. We do have a resolution that goes with this. Any more comments or questions before we move on?
I have one.
Okay, I saw a hand go up, and I heard a voice. Okay, I see Vice President Flowen's hand, and whose voice was it?
It was me.
Autumn. Okay. Oh, you know what? Maybe staff has an answer already. Go ahead, Autumn.
Not an answer, just a comment. As somebody who's about to embark on the budget journey, I just want to say that this is all Anne, and she did a wonderful job.
Yay!
And I appreciate the language going into it, because it can be confusing, and to have clarification is very much appreciated. So I just wanted to say great job and thank you.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you. Vice President Flowen.
Just to say that there are rules to accounting in the bookkeeping. It's a big deal. There's a Government Accounting Standards Board that establishes the generally accepted accounting practices for the United States of America. And we are pledged to follow those rules. And our auditors are too, and they test our compliance with those accounting rules. And we always, as long as I've been around, we've always gotten the highest rating for our accounting practices here. And so I also assume and I trust that that this document is not etched in stone, and that if it needs to be adjusted in any way, we should certainly do it, not hold to something that's archaic. And I just think that we're doing a great job on all of this accounting type stuff. We have an excellent staff. Ann has been around for, as she just said again in this meeting, she's been here for 13 years. And her mentor, Susan Greer, is just absolutely, totally impressed with her. And that's one heck of a recommendation, by the way. So I'm just delighted with the whole process here, and I'm very pleased to be a part of it. Thank you.
I have something.
Yes.
I just want to say, as a non-staff member and as a ratepayer, I think most ratepayers in the district would be happy to know that we're going to initiate a budget policy that will help us keep things straight and is tied to the strategic plan. I think it's a great step forward, and kudos to Ann and everyone else who worked on the budget policy.
President
You have
Unger?
a resolution and
President Unger?
oh, one more question.
One more little thing. It says this policy, if we pass it, this policy will become effective in time to be applied during the 21-22 budget season. When does that season start?
Right now.
We're in it.
Okay, that's what I gathered. But
We're in it.
okay, we're doing it in the nick of time. Then is that what you're saying?
I mean,
Right.
really,
there's really
Nick.
nothing. There's nothing, profound in here that we haven't been doing. So,
Yeah.
we're adopting a policy that mirrors our practices.
Okay, thank you.
Well put. Well put. Then General Manager Ban, should Director of Finance Roman read the resolution? And that's because that's what we're going to be voting on tonight, to approve the policy and the resolution.
You could just actually make a recommendation to adopt that resolution, President Unger, if you'd like to.
It's
Or
pretty quick. It's a quick resolution.
Yeah, we can read it real quick. And you want to read that with us?
Yeah, I can read it. All right, this is resolution number 21-1030, resolution of the Board of Directors of the Joshua Basin Water District adopting budget policy into administrative code. Whereas the administrative code as adopted and amended memorializes various policies as approved by the Board of Directors, and whereas the Joshua Basin Water District's strategic plan calls for maintenance and enhancement of Finance Department protocols, and whereas the Joshua Basin Water District's Board of Directors has reviewed and has endorsed to adopt the budget policy attached hereto, now therefore be it resolved that the attached budget policy revised 3/30/2021 be adopted and incorporated into Article 12 of the Administrative Code. Further resolved, this resolution is effective immediately upon adoption, adopted this 21st day of April 2021. And that is to be signed by President Unger and attested to by General Manager Ban.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 21-1030?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Second.
Jane?
Roll call?
President Unger,
Aye.
Vice President Flowen,
Aye.
Director Reynolds,
Aye.
Director Doolittle,
Aye.
and Director Jarlsberg.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Item number 9, another resolution amending Article 3.02 of the Administrative Code, moving the start time of the regular Board of Directors meetings. Recommendation is that the Board of Directors adopt this resolution. And I think it's to moving our staff, our Board of Directors meetings, regular meetings, to 5:30 p.m. General Manager Ban, this one's yours.
Perfect. So as you'd mentioned, we currently begin our regularly scheduled meetings at 6:30 p.m. And, the biggest reason for that is obviously board members' schedule. But first and foremost is to allow the public the opportunity to attend our meetings on a regular basis. Folks coming home from work. But staff also believes that equally important is the time that we adjourn those meetings and allowing enough time for comment from both staff, the board, and the public that's attending. By moving our meeting time to 5:30, staff believes that we can still allow that time available for the public to attend, and also allow our meetings to get out a little bit earlier, which is obviously could cause some substantial safety concerns for staff after putting in a long day as well. We've had a couple folks leaving out of here around 9 o'clock that have had some issues on the road driving 30 plus miles home as well. So we just believe that it'll make for a more efficient meeting time for everyone and allow everybody to be more alert and effective during the meeting. So that's about all I could say about that.
And a lot of different boards have various time for meeting. In fact, listed in this staff presentation, 29 Palms Water, they meet at 4 p.m. Coachella Valley meets at 8 a.m. High Desert Water meets at 5. The Mojave Water Agency changed theirs to 9:30 a.m. And the Palm Springs Desert Water Agency also meets at 8 a.m. When I first started here, Director Reynolds, you all know, we started at 7 o'clock p.m. and it had been that way for many years. And I stumped hard to get those meetings moved back, and I was able to get it to 6:30. And so now I'm interested to see, especially how this works for the directors. And Director Reynolds, you'll be my top concern. You really work hard, and knowing how you feel about a 5:30 start time would be really important to me.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I have conflicting thoughts about this. But we'll start with when we had the meetings at 7 o'clock, it was real easy to get off work and get a shower and come to the meeting fresh and clean. Especially as a plumber, nobody wants to sit next to a plumber in a board meeting. And however, when we changed it to from 7:30 to 6:30, it really was a doable thing. I was able to manage my schedule and make it happen. But then I'm reminded, before I became a director, and I'm not sure how long ago this was, at least 15 plus years, there was a director at Mojave Water Agency. And if you'll remember, they also had late night board meetings. And I can't remember the director's name, but he was killed in an auto accident traveling home very late at night after a long meeting. And I've never forgotten that. And the point of staff working all day long. But then there is such a gap in time between quitting time and then when the board meeting actually starts. Not only is it a safety hazard, it's a pretty big inconvenience to the staff that has to attend the meeting and go to work the same day. So that creates a very long day. So I appreciate the concern for me because I'm the guy that's working, but there's a lot more involved in this time than just me. I will be able to manipulate my calendar and make it happen. And I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Oh, that was, you were really a concern for me. I really wanted to make sure that worked. And yeah, and I can relate to that. When I first started at the newspaper, I'd work during the day and then have to take a kind of a long layover to 7 o'clock to come to the meetings. And I know we've got a reporter, zooming in tonight. So 5:30 kind of knits that day up a little tighter, and it can work for you, and it can't. But so Mike, it sounds like you're an I on this.
I'm definitely in support of it.
Vice President Flowen, how about you?
Yeah, I can remember years ago when Director Reynolds would come to a meeting in his work uniform. So it was something that occurred to me too. However, the overriding feeling or sense that I have in this is my concern for the morale of staff, who I have said before are very busy people in a deadline oriented type of a technical environment. And I think it would be fair to acknowledge that by getting the starting time of our board meetings a little closer to their quitting time. And also, as I think it's stated somewhere in here, they will be potentially more effective at the meetings if they're a little fresher, so to speak. So I'm thinking, well, what the heck, let's try it. And if it doesn't work, we'll do something else.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Director Doolittle.
I'm amenable to this change.
Okay. Director Jarlsberg?
I may be the odd man out on this. I have been a staff member that was responsible for setting up city council meetings throughout the day, and then officiating the meeting, taking minutes and everything into maybe 11 o'clock at night sometimes. And I know that it was part of my job. And usually what we did is allowed time to take a break for a meal, or, to go get something off campus before the meeting started. Personally, I'd like to keep it 6:30 for myself. I'm not against the staff and their reasoning. I totally understand it. But part of my thing for being on the board is to attract more public to our meetings, of being more transparent, making it more possible for people to come to these meetings, thinking of working people. 6:30, I think, works better for working people that have to come home, take a shower, catch a quick meal, sort out the home situation, and then go to a meeting. Maybe when Zooming, it might be a little easier to kind of fit into your routine, but the actual physical meeting, which I hope we get back to eventually, I think it might be difficult to attract public. Myself, I need to eat at a certain time before 6 o'clock, and I can't wait till 8 o'clock to eat. And my household is very busy with food prep, meal prep, people coming and going at 5:30 to find a quiet place to attend this meeting in a Zoom meeting is difficult for me. My reasoning also, if we had 2 meetings a month, they would be shorter. And I think we've been talking about possibly advocating to making sure that we have 2 meetings a month. And if we did, they would be shorter. We'd probably be out of here by 7:30, 8 o'clock at the latest. So I think that's, let's see. I think those are all the things that I thought of when I read this proposal.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a really good input. And I can certainly understand those. And I know that 7 o'clock p.m. meeting was kind of based on that, on people getting home, getting able to come to a meeting and, be involved. And that, I think that was also part of why the meetings were so late. But everyone has moved their meetings earlier. It has been a real trend. The Morongo Basin MAC, I think, meets at 5:30. something like that. So everyone has been doing that, and it would be kind of anachronistic if we kept a late night meeting, I think. And Director Reynolds, yeah, that ride home from the Mojave Watering, even though those meetings started at 4:30 in the afternoon, after 2 hours in the winter, that long drive home on dark 247 was
scary.
It could be those big trucks. They didn't care about you. But I have any other comment? Any other questions?
Jim does.
Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm the outlier. I'm new in this position, but I got here at 5 this morning.
Oh.
And that's not uncommon. And I'm also trying to encourage a couple of the leads in the field to attend the meetings as well. And they also start early. So just as an additional thought, it makes for a long day for us. So, but you don't need to think about us. It's just food for thought.
We do think about you. We wouldn't have a water district without our crew and our staff.
Well, one person and possibly two more. It's just I understand the dynamics and stuff. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate
Thank you.
everyone's opinion is important here. Mark, you're losing your voice. I'll read the resolution.
Karen,
And,
President Unger.
Karen's got a question.
one last question, quick.
It's not a question, it's an approval of the earlier meeting time for those of us in the public.
Oh, I'm sorry, Karen. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
I would much rather have an earlier meeting, arrange my meals around eating earlier, arrange myself during the day to be ready to go and come home earlier. I agree with Jim.
Well, these are important considerations, and with the trend going towards earlier meeting times, those are all important considerations. Certainly. Anyone else from the public here tonight that wanted to comment? Kathleen.
Just on the remembrance of when we moved the meeting time last time, the comments from the public, and this was an interesting perspective, was, we go to work all day, we get home, the last thing we want to do is get back in the car and drive to a meeting. And I thought about that, and I'm probably one of those too, where you get home, you just want to stop. And so if it's from work to a meeting and then they go home and they're done for the day, that may be an enticement to the public to join us. I'm just saying that was one of the discussions back then.
Yeah.
I have one more comment.
Yes.
Zoom makes it very, very convenient. So it's not so bad to come home from work. You have much less time needed to prepare for the meeting, shower and shave and all of that, and eat. And it's not disruptive if you're having a bite to eat while you're in a Zoom meeting, because you're just this big.
And also, shut off your video feed so nobody sees you.
Anyway, so I have seen some advantages of having a Zoom meeting, and it does make for having an earlier meeting easier. And then, as most of you know, I've taken on a project out of state, and that's a considerable time difference.
Yes, good point.
And so while I'm there, it won't be so bad. But primarily, I'm still all for it. I'm all for it, especially for the safety sake and for the lag time between when you get off work and when you have to come back to the meeting for the employees that come. I sure would like to see a bigger citizen attendance through the whole tenure I've been here. The only time we've had good attendance is when there's been extreme controversy and the cops were there.
That's right. It used to be an armed police officer at the door.
Anyway, concludes my statement.
President
And,
Unger,
I'd like to make one more.
President Unger,
I'm hearing somebody else.
it's me. It's Beverly.
Oh, Ms. Beverly, go ahead.
I would like to make a comment.
Yes.
Director Jarlsberg, I know that you said that having 2 meetings every month, it would cut down the time. I would just like to remind you of our last meetings in April, that even though we had one agenda item on there, it was a 2-hour meeting. That's where,
Sometimes stuff takes, you've got to
exactly.
just chew on it and chew on it and chew on it.
even though there's only one item on there, you may feel like everybody needs to talk more and discuss it more and get to the nitty gritty of it. But the earlier start time would make everybody more attentive, I'm going to say.
Okay, one last comment.
Yeah, I'm couple of things. The fact that public meetings are being held more and more during the day, I think is not good. It's a bad trend towards eliminating the public comments. And it's just one of my things.
No,
Yeah.
I can see that, those 8 a.m. meetings, that doesn't fit anybody's
I mean,
schedule.
you're essentially eliminating the people who are affected by their policies by having these meetings, just like having voting, at odd times, and it's really hard for people to vote. Anyway, the other thing is that I would propose a possible compromise that perhaps during winter hours we start earlier because of the early darkness, and in the summer start later because it's light later. Anyway, that sometimes happens. The various groups do that.
Well, I'm going to close this up for comment unless there's anything else that's absolutely just can't wait. And Mark, you're losing your voice. I'll go ahead and read the resolution.
Well, we see that we have a comment from David Carrillo.
Okay.
David, there you go.
Thank you. I'm assuming right now that we're talking about meeting in the office.
Oh, even right now, the meetings right now, the Zoom meetings right now.
Okay. Well, Zoom makes it possible for people not to have to drive, which is a good thing. So they could come home and just get on. So I think Zoom is a really good thing. And when it does open up, maybe we can make it possible for it to be Zoomed at the same time. So people that are stuck home with kids can get off into a room, or grandkids for that matter, and sequester themselves so they can have a time to hear what's really going on in our neighborhood, in our city.
And I think that once people have gotten used to doing the Zooms, there's a lot of things that are not going to go back to in person.
Right.
It's just it's just become available to a lot of people. People have upgraded their their computer equipment, their laptops, whatever, so they can do it. And I just think that there's a lot of things that are just going to stay virtual or be available, like you're saying, virtual as well as in person. It's going to be hard to think of us going back.
Yeah, I think it's the best of both worlds if we have both.
We're going to have hybrids, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Resolution number 21-1031, amending Article 3.02 of the Administrative Code, regular meetings of the Board of Directors, whereas Article 3.02 states that regular meetings of the board shall be held on the first and third Wednesday of each month at 6:30 p.m. unless said Wednesday falls upon a holiday designated in Section 6700 of the Government Code of the State of California. Such regular meetings shall be canceled or held at a date and time determined by the board, and the staff shall arrange its affairs accordingly. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Article 3.02 of the Administrative Code be amended as follows. Regular meetings of the Board of Directors shall be held on the first and third Wednesday of each month at 5:30 p.m. unless said Wednesday falls on a holiday designated in Section 6700 of the Government Code of the State of California. Such regular meetings shall be canceled or held at a date and time determined by the Board of Directors. Further resolved, this resolution is effective immediately upon adoption, adopted this day, 21st day of April, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Vice President Flowen. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Director Doolittle. General Manager Ban, would you call the roll, please?
President Unger,
Aye.
Vice President Sloan,
Aye.
Director Reynolds,
Aye.
Director Doolittle,
Aye.
Director Jarlsberg.
No.
Thank you, everybody. Item number 10, legislative update. And I believe this is Jeff Hoskinson, our legal counsel, on a couple of state Senate bills that are real doozies.
Yes.
Jeff, are you there?
I am.
Okay.
Good evening.
We did get a chance to talk about these in the Public Information and Legislative Committee, and Aqua's been very active on these. But Jeff, go ahead, give everybody the scoop here.
Yes, and I understand the committee had asked us to come to the whole board just for your information and an update. This is relative to two bills, and I'll step back slightly. SB 998 was a bill, Senate Bill 998 was a bill adopted 2 years ago that implemented restrictions on shutting off residential water service for non-payment. And it added in a criteria that has already been added into the district's policies as to how you handle non-payment. And SB 998 had a 60-day window before you could shut off service, and a number of procedures that are required before you can do so, and repayment plans. And I won't go into the full details, but repayment plan options and additional restrictions for health and safety issues, et cetera. That was implemented and went into effect actually February 2020. And we don't really know the full impact because of COVID. And it came around and prevented residential shutoffs, period. So the full effect of 998 isn't really entirely known. But what you have now, and these are, just to be clear, they are not adopted. These are still the current status of, we have two bills. One is Senate Bill 223, which I'll primarily focus on. It was last amended just a couple of days ago. It's still working its way through committees. But what it would do is really expand SB 998. First, not really relevant to Joshua Basin. It would expand it to very small community water systems. Before, it had a minimum number of connections before it applied to a district. It applied to you, so this doesn't really matter. But now it would apply to smaller systems, less than 200 connections. It will expand prohibitions from termination. It used to be you could only not have your water service shut off, even if you didn't pay, if it was going to be life-threatening or a serious health or safety threat to a resident. This would expand to, consistent with COVID and the governor's order that's in place now, expand that to not shutting off during a declared emergency, state or local. And actually, there is an allowance for you as a district to make a finding that the emergency doesn't impact the customer's ability to pay if they're located in that area. But that would be something that would come out of SB 223. It also would expand the shutoff protections. SB 998, as I mentioned a second ago, doesn't allow you to shut off for non-payment for up to 60 days. This would change it to 90 days, so additional 30 days, or when the total delinquency is more than $250. So there would be an expansion if this bill does pass. It expands a list of repayment options and has some roundabout options for debt forgiveness, which has been largely challenged. Really, all of this has been challenged by Aqua currently, as it stands already. It would increase, SB 998 had limitations on reconnection fees for low-income customers, which I believe is defined as customers under 200% of the U.S. poverty rate. This would actually require the waiver of reconnection fees, and also a waiver of late fees, interest charges, and penalties up to once every 12 months. And then really not pertaining to you, it requires the Public Utility Commission to adopt a program for arrearage management plans that would be imposed on water districts regulated by the PUC, but that is not you as a county water district. And then it does require certain reporting to the State Water Resources Control Board. There is a companion bill, SB 222, which is also working its way through the Senate, similar process. Largely does not affect you directly. It would establish a water rate assistance fund in the state treasury, a concept that isn't even opposed really by Aqua, except for there are still large concerns over what the source of funds for that treasury component will be. And there's concern that it should not be a water tax. And obviously if it ends up being collected from the water systems, i.e. all the water districts across the state, that would really amount to a water tax. And then I know one of the specific concerns that the committee had and wanted me to touch on were Prop 218 concerns. And I don't think that this is a new concern. 223 doesn't raise a new issue in that regard. I think there has been for quite some time, even on SB 998, a belief that Prop 218 could be conflict with Prop 218 with the concept. And just stepping back a second, Prop 218 is the constitutional amendment that limits your charges for water to actual cost of service. And provides that you can't charge the more than actual cost of service for your water. And the concern obviously is if you have people not paying and you have provisions that do not require them to pay, that ultimately is being carried, the burden is being carried by your other customers. And that potentially is subject to a Prop 218 challenge. I thought it would come from SB 998 already. I think many anticipated that. And I think maybe COVID is the reason why it hasn't. I would suspect that would be coming. 223 might make it more likely if it does pass. Again, we're a long way from it passing, but the issues I've raised, Aqua is opposed to these bills. It is working with them, with the legislative committees and the authors of the bill to try and get some adjustments or amendments made that might make it more palatable, particularly with the water rate assistance fund. But as I mentioned, it not being a water tax is an important component to them. And that's really all I had, just to give you a brief update of that bill. It is something we certainly will follow. And as it moves through committee, we can certainly let you know if it looks like it's getting support in the Assembly and the Senate.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Jeff. Questions, comments? Going once? Yes, thank you. Director Jarlsberg.
Yeah, it seems to me that we might address a little bit of this one during Kathleen's report. But I think one of the things that we talked about is the possibility of having a letter that was written by ACWA?
Yeah, Aqua.
That opposed, unless it was amended, to kind of support the process that they're going through. And anyway, maybe we'll talk about it when Kathleen.
I think the deadline for those was Monday, those letters.
I'm not sure. She had a letter, she had a sample letter or something, and I'm not sure. The timing.
And those deadlines, I think, are largely tied to committee hearings. So the bill is, this is a process that takes a while. So I am sure Aqua will be, if a deadline's passed for a letter before a committee meeting, there will be another deadline and another request for support. So that is something that will be ongoing, I am sure.
Anyone else? Questions, comments? Don't be shy. Hearing none then, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you taking the time to give us this presentation. There's a lot of bills going through the Assembly and Senate in California that have to do with water. I mean, it's the new gold in the state, and it takes a lot of watching, that's for sure.
And we will try to follow this as well and keep you posted as this moves through.
Thank you. General Manager report, Mark Ban. Oh, you're muted, Mark.
I sound better that way anyway, right?
No.
So I was asked to provide kind of a location-based map on our Tilford project. I believe Vice President Flown was questioned at the farmer's market or something along those lines about the location of that project. And so just wanted to take a quick opportunity to throw a map up here real fast, if everybody can see that. And so this project is, our next pipeline replacement. It's one that we're beginning work on in tandem with our Well 14 project right now. It's up towards the northern end of our water district. And you can see the main road over here is Border Avenue toward the west there. And everywhere where you see the red line basically is where a new line is going to be installed. So it's along Sunny Sands Drive, La Brisa, Desert Shadows Road, Center Avenue. And those are all tying into previously installed PVC or AC water mains. So you'll see where there's some breaks there where it's not quite looped or, a short segment like this over here. It's actually tying into water mains that were installed there in previously. So
That's some
Any
real
questions?
soft land out there. I mean, that's just soft dirt, sand. It's really, that must be challenging. Wow.
Actually, some of it's really, really hard, believe it or not.
Ooh.
It's interesting. We have some leaks out there when we dig up the old pipe. The trench line with the water flowing shows itself, if that makes any sense to you. The ground is so hard with caliche in some areas.
Oh God.
It's a mix up there, but yeah, it'll be challenging, but we'll get her done.
Oh, I trust you will. Oh my, you guys like a challenge. Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Is there starting to be more population moving in there? People buying properties or?
Not necessarily. We replaced or actually we had clay valve come up and rebuild a 12-inch clay valve at C3 Reservoir, which is right above La Brisa there. And I was talking with Jeremiah and I was asking him for some pressures in that area. And we haven't had a whole lot of inquiries out there as opposed to other areas. So we're not seeing a lot of it now, but it's coming.
And even when you think you're out in the nowheres, a break like that, we've seen it happen before, messes everything up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, definitely. There's 16 and 20-inch pipe out there that feeds that area. So yeah, for sure.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Any questions for the crew?
Maybe I should say thank you very much. This was a request from a ratepayer. He had raised issues about what the apparently there were survey stakes that were out there with blue ribbons on them and such, and he was just wondering what was going on in his neighborhood. And this was a very rapid response from staff. That would be Mark in this case, I think. And I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, we knocked on every door out there and hung door hangers when people weren't home.
Oh my gosh.
We've received probably 4 inquiries about, people concerned about their plants and the stakes and so forth, and we've responded to them all. So once we're done with Well 14, we'll be out there soon, hopefully.
Cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of Well 14, just to get a quick update on that as well. I've got a few pictures to share with everybody if that pops up correctly here.
Oh my
Everybody
gosh.
see that? So are the slides changing for everyone?
Yep.
Okay. So you can see that, pretty much everything got ripped out over there at Well 14. Our staff has done a great job of moving things along. We've got most of all of our material ordered. You can see over here towards the bottom left-hand side that we've already got the headworks put in there, our influent and effluent piping with our control valves and our meter. All of the 18-inch, like we've said before, is already in. And so now we're transitioning into installing all of the electrical conduit underneath here. So that's going to be roughly about, by the time it's all said and done, about 1,800 feet of electrical conduit in about a 40-foot by 16-foot area there. So
Oh my
quite a
gosh.
bit of wiring going all over the place. So.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Yeah.
And just another view of that of the crew out there tying those influent and effluent headers into the existing 8-inch or 18-inch that we installed.
A couple of comments, Mark. Do you have a drone? Sure. Are these pictures taken with a drone or a helicopter?
Helicopter. No. Yeah, no, they were taken with a drone. Yeah.
Do you have a drone? Is that one of your property?
The district has a drone, yeah.
Yeah. Good.
We also have a drone policy, just for the record.
Yeah. You better, yeah, right.
Yep.
Oh,
What are you laughing at, Tom?
well, that was
so, and
funny.
then just a close-up of those two headers there installed already. So should be receiving our building here towards the middle of May. We've got our switch gear and motor control center coming in within the next few weeks, and got some flat work to do there and getting close. So we're pushing it, but hopefully we'll have it done by the end of the fiscal year here. So
wow,
just in time for summer.
Question?
Wow.
Go ahead, Tom.
I don't know if my brain made this up or not, but do I recall that you said that by installing this electrical conduit ourselves that we're going to save money rather than having an outside electrician do that? Did I hear that?
Absolutely, you did.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I mean,
Actually,
all in all, this project,
Go ahead,
we brought back an increase to the board that took, I think we're up to 600,000, I think, on this particular project. Easily farmed out would have been, $1.2 million project contracted out there. So easily. So.
This is amazing. This started out like, we got a couple of bad tests, keep running some tests. Let's try this, let's try that. And it just kept till it actually became really building a whole new setup. It's like, yeah. Oh my gosh. But this time, it's up to the current codes.
Yeah, it'll be state of the art.
Yeah, that should be our premier site. That's where we're going to generate chlorine from there and everything. So
that's excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We have an overview from Mark on, I know your voice is bad, but just quickly why we're doing this, the 4-log thing and all that.
What was that again, Tom? Sorry.
Could you explain why our motive here with the 4-log treatment and the greater exposure of chlorine to the water and all that?
Yeah, so basically, in essence, the district continually got present coliform samples from this well. Coliform is what is considered to be an indicator organism. It's nothing like E. coli. It just basically lets the district know that there's an environment present within the water that could allow for other bacteria to proliferate. And so by installing this project, by having this serpentine 18-inch pipeline running behind these headworks here, basically, before it goes into the distribution system, essentially acts like a reservoir, basically, where the chlorine that we apply is able to stay in contact longer with the water before it goes into the system, and thus inactivating or killing any type of viruses or pathogens that could be present within the water. In this case, coliform bacteria, which is everywhere as it is. So.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Got anything else, Mark? Jim?
are you done, Mark?
Nothing. I think Jimmy wanted to share something as part of comment, I think, there.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to share with the board. I touched on it in the ops meeting a little bit. I finally got some settlement numbers. We auctioned off 4 trucks, a trailer, and a trencher, and the total amount was 55,000. Our net will be 47,000 and some change. We got rid of 4 vehicles, like I said, a trailer and a trencher. So the vehicles were from 2008. So I think that's a pretty good deal that we scored there. And I just wanted to make the board aware of that. I think it was $47,107 that we'll be receiving from the proceeds out of that.
We're rolling in it now. That's
Yeah.
great.
Well, considering we were getting like $13,000 for these vehicles that we couldn't even use for backup vehicles. That's how bad they were. So
They were so beat.
yeah, we put them through the ringer, even though they were well maintained. I mean, after that many years, you know. So that was all I have that's out of the ordinary.
Oh, that's
So,
cool.
yeah,
Good update.
I'll buy a new truck.
Any other questions or comments for the crew? We'll move on then to director meeting reports. Kathleen Radnich, Public Information Consultant.
Right. Well, first, super congratulations to our new CAC members, Hannah Campbell and Kathy Carrillo. The CAC represents our community, and I think we are going to benefit greatly as they move forward on the projects that start being channeled their way. So touching on the upcoming classes and courses, registrations are still open for the wildcrafting, although it's pretty full, but I'm still keeping it open. That's every Friday in May. That's the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. 2 of them are on Zoom. 2 of them are out in the field. The Summarizing Your Drip Irrigation for Water Efficiency is on May 18th, Tuesday evening on Zoom from 6 to 8:30 p.m. And Xeriscaping, June 10th, Thursday, Zoom from 6 to 8:30 p.m. That's June 10th, Xeriscaping. The wildcrafting information to register is in the current April newsletter, the Teardrop, and May will have how to register for Summarizing Your Drip Irrigation and Xeriscaping courses. The next newsletter, May is right around the corner. May is dubbed Water Awareness Month. And many organizations are edifying this with water presentations. The Morongo Basin Democrats of the Morongo Basin will hold a panel discussion on water via Zoom Saturday, May 8th at the regular morning meeting. And information on this, it's a panel on water from the various water districts. This presentation information is also in the upcoming May newsletter for anyone interested in participating. And the Joshua Tree Rotary Club will be hosting water presentations throughout May at their weekly meetings as well. And Joshua Basin Water District is slated to speak on local conservation efforts on May 19th, 8 a.m. on Zoom. I don't have the contact information for that, but if it comes through, I will definitely make it publicly available. The docent annual meeting, which usually happened in winter, but with all the uncertainties of life lately, we moved it to the beautiful weather of May. We'll be meeting out in the garden at 5 p.m. on May 20th, and we will be reacquainting and reinitiating some of the projects the docents worked on, like garden tours and stuff. I've been doing most of them in the COVID lockdown, taking people one-on-one by private requests. But we have wonderful people willing to volunteer and learn all about our plants and share their enthusiasm. So we'll be ramping back up with the docent program. In the farmers market, this is our last weekend that we'll be educating on water for emergencies, at least until next September, which is National Emergency Water Preparedness. But we will have also coming this May live tortoises as usual at the farmers market. I can't tell you how little they're going to be or how big, but I'll know by the end of this week when I pick them up. but they will be there and we use them to teach on water conservation. So that's my report for this last meeting in April.
Thank you. Mojave Water Agency Board of Directors meeting on March 25th. That was Director Doolittle.
President Unger, could I ask Kathleen a question?
Hang on a second. Director Doolittle, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Okay. Go ahead, Stacy.
Kathleen, a question?
Not right now. Thank you.
Oh, all right.
Go ahead, Director Doolittle.
So the MWA meeting, there was a public comment moment where someone from the public asked them to take up illegal pumping related to marijuana grows, and it was suggested later for a future agenda item. This is a pretty hot topic these days, maybe something for us to consider. There was a review of the status of the urban water management plan for MWA. Their usage numbers have changed considerably since 5 years ago, and they must integrate it with all of MWA's retail agencies. And service reliability was a key phrase, and the reliability of the water supplies through 2065. Let's see. Director Mike Limbaugh had a lot of good questions regarding comparisons of this draft document to previous documents. There was a second presentation extending the calibration period to save money, an additional $100K to do so. And it's modeling can inform how changing hydrology will affect our plans. It's an integrated grant service model. And they're really talking about whether or not they're going to have enough water.
Oh,
yeah, groundwater modeling is important. Keep in mind predicting the behavior of climate change models. Always good to know what we have in the ground. This data may help with any future adjudication. There was an aerial imagery presentation, 3,700 square miles of coverage. They did an RFP for 3 years of aerial photography, and digital mapping was the lowest bidder. And evidently, we have access to this imagery. Is that correct, General Manager Mark?
Yeah, we could get some of the images from that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, they suggested that perhaps these images will show some of the illegal marijuana grows in the service areas. And MWA is going to start doing its meetings for the board in person beginning in April 2021. So they decided to consider this for May, actually.
Oh my goodness. That's news. Okay.
That's all of
And that's another meeting too. When you think about, we were talking about with David Carrillo, that's going to be a meeting. It's going to be hard for any of us to say, well, gee whiz, I'm going to drive out to Apple Valley today. As long as we have that option to meet by Zoom, I think we're going to be doing that. But that's really, and so they'll soon be doing their meetings in person. Thank you. Legislative and Public Information Committee, April 7th. Director Jarlsberg, I'll let you take it away.
Oh, let's see. Well, we covered a lot of things that obviously Jeff covered today. And I guess I wanted to ask Kathleen, there was a letter that was coming, whether it's going to be something that's usable or if we'll wait for a more relevant later date to respond to their concerns.
The answer,
yeah.
Aqua letter.
Charles, we have a draft letter that was not approved by Mojave yet because they are, circling wagons on this one. But they gave it to me, which I forwarded to administration in the event we wanted to rush and have a separate special board meeting. It was suggested, just as our attorney has clarified, that this is going to be a battle basically that isn't over right now. And there will be an opportunity to submit things further on because of this battle over this proposition. So we are waiting actually still for the official draft letter that makes it very easy for us just to sign on and say we endorse it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was kind of a from the hip decision, since the deadline is there, but it was not the drop dead deadline. It was what they were pushing for, the organization. So there probably will be for you guys to discuss. We just didn't need to have a special board meeting, and they couldn't get it to us in time for this one.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think one of the concerns with these bills, this variety of bills, is postponing the past due payments for water that would impact on the smaller water districts, obviously. But he mentioned that they were the ones with only 200 customers, but I think also ours might be considered small in the bigger picture. And I think part of the concern is that we end up eating some of that. It isn't necessarily passed on to the rate payers. That, you know, it's eaten out of our general fund, and there's no way for us to recoup it. So I think that's part of where looking at it more carefully and how it might be designed to help the more middle sized districts like ours. So, but I wanted to ask Kathleen, are you on the panels that are presenting during the water months? And you mentioned they're happening, but I didn't know who's representing us. Is that you?
Okay, the first one on May 8th with the Democrats of the Morongo Basin. Did I say that right? I always get it reversed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they changed their name.
Rebecca, President Unger and Director Doolittle are going to be on that panel on behalf of Joshua Basin Water District. I will be representing us to the Rotary on May 19th, I think it is, for water conservation outreach efforts to the community. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay, and then we'll get notices of them happening and their Zoom. I'm assuming they're Zoom meetings.
The Democrat Club has provided that to me, and it is going to be already in the May newsletter. As for the Rotary one, that's still up in the air. They tend to be a little more closed. You know, they're a club, but we are prepared to give them a very thorough presentation on our water conservation efforts. So I have to do what they give me. If they say, no, we're not going to open it up to the public, then I can't. They're working it right now and trying to decide. And if so, I'll be able probably to get it in the May newsletter as well.
I'd love to see your presentation video recorded and put on our website.
Thank you. I got one fan. Okay.
That's about all I have for the committee anyway.
Okay. Mojave Water Agency Board of Directors meeting, April 8th, Vice President Flowen.
Yes, ma'am. There was some talk there about upgrading their infrastructure asset management. So everything, it's similar actually to what we have been addressing here, where we try and keep control of what we have and what we're using and what's wearing out and stuff like that. Only on their scale, it would be a much larger project. I've written down here, this meeting was a while ago, that the things that they own need maintenance to keep them performing. And that is a direct reflection on cost. Jim pointed out, that we did get 12 years out of our trucks and equipment there. And that he said that was in some measure because of maintenance of this equipment. You can't just use it and abuse it. You got to take care of it. Which when you pay $300,000 or something for a tractor, it's kind of common sense that you need to also, once again, budget the maintenance for these things. The cost of water, we budget, my recollection is 500,000 a year to buy water. And as far as they know, the Department of Water Resources has not, as of the 9th, they haven't come out with any prices on the water that we would be buying from Mojave. They're still waiting for that. Water sales for them has been level or flat so far, or recently, that is to say. There was some discussion of their aging infrastructure. And our, what is a 66-mile or so pipeline that we have is not new anymore. And it's just intriguing to me that there are partners in that, in the cost of and the use of the pipeline, us and Yucca and Bighorn, Desert View, I think maybe even a part of Johnson Valley, not 29 Palms. And so how we arrange, how we pay for maintenance of the pipeline will be intriguing, to say the least. I'm guessing it would be based on a percentage of use of the volume of water that comes down, which is roughly what the cost of putting the pipeline in the first place was. If somebody's buying 60% of the water, they would pay 60% of the cost of the pipeline. Something like that kind of a thing would be going on. And an interesting comment from Director Hayhurst was that she was, they've had a bit of a turnover in staff over there, and she was sort of pleased that so many new young people are employed at the Mojave Water Agency, and that she's looking forward to a fresh outlook and their energy.
Wow, that's great.
And it's just here with what we do, it's a little it's a little tough to find young people that have the time to commit to this type of a thing. It's usually people that are somewhat older here that have they're not working on at a regular job anymore, and they have the time to dedicate to this stuff. Retired people literally look around for something to commit to in our community, I think. But we'll take what we could get and we'll use it 100%. That's all I have. Thank you.
Old people are busybodies out here, Tom. You know how that goes. Finance Committee meeting of April 14th. You guys got a chance to vote on stuff that we went through with the Finance Committee. I don't think I have anything to add on that. Water Resource and Operations. Looks like Vice President Flowen, you took that one for Mike one day with Director Doolittle.
Yeah, can we defer to Stacy?
Yeah, let Stacy do it.
Well, I was just going to say that all that we covered was already covered by Jim and by Mark earlier in their reports.
But these committee meetings are important. Everyone gets a chance to kind of get a first look at some of these things, and they can be zoomed into. They're open to the public. Director's comments, opportunity for board members to make general comments concerning district business only. Director Doolittle, anything to add tonight?
I would just like to know what is the plan for more strategic planning? What are we
Tom, do you want to help on that? We had our strategic plan was 3 years ago, I believe, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
I was actually asking Mark Ban. I was pointed towards him.
Mark,
so we've been discussing, and more than likely to take place once we come out of completing the budget, going through and updating our current plan and bringing that before the board. So I'd look for that probably sometime in July, August time period.
Of this year?
So, yeah.
Wow.
Not a rewritten one, but just an update on where we're currently sitting on some of those items. So.
Oh, not a redoing of the strategic plan?
No, not in this year.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay.
But certainly an update on where we stand on the current items in there. So.
And then will you be able to flesh out some of the areas that are blank, such as the development area? I think that was an area that's needing some fleshing out.
Yeah, especially with a lot of the, the changes that may, take place with the updated wastewater treatment strategy and things like that that are currently going on. So.
Okay, thank you.
Director Jarlsberg.
I guess I have spoken enough tonight. I did want to appreciate or put out appreciation for how many people stayed with this meeting tonight. We have 18 attendees. I think our top attendee is 19. So I want to commend you for hanging in there. And I do think this was a very informative meeting for me and hopefully for others too.
Director Reynolds.
Oh, thank you. I don't have much to say. I want to welcome aboard our new members of the CAC. And with that, let's have a good night.
Vice President Flowen.
A couple of things. Yeah, these strategic plans are pretty dynamic things. And this director, at least, does not expect them to be rigid. I think I have an old version of it, and it's version 17, I think it is. I wish I had it in front of me. I'd know for sure. But I don't. I want management, especially Mark, to be able to. In football, it'd be called calling an audible. If he sees things out there with his current situation and what he's got, he needs the space to maneuver without any fear of condemnation of some kind from the board for not following the plan, that kind of thing. On the back of the, this is a water emergency preparation month at the market. And one of the things that I've had on my mind lately is that our ratepayers may not have current phone numbers with us. And I'll take correction on any of this if I'm slightly inaccurate, but we do have an automatic or a computerized notification capability to where if we have boil orders or other kinds of emergency water related, that this thing will call people automatically. And we need to have, to keep them fully informed on water emergencies, we need to have a current phone number. And the thing I noticed when I was paying one of my water bills, I actually turned it over, and there's a space on the other side of the receipt portion where a person can indicate a change of address or a change of their phone number for the water company, and then of course we would update our records. And I'm assuming that this automated system that we have to do notifications refers to that kind of a database, so that we can keep our ratepayers fully informed. So this is just a reminder, if anybody out there that's a ratepayer has changed or added a phone number, that we should know about it for their benefit, not for ours, for their benefit. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to definitely welcome our two new Citizens Advisory Council members. Thank you so much for joining. It's really important. We're so glad you're here. Thanks to our current CAC members. You will be busy working on things that are really important to our community, through the water district. Thank everybody who did stick the meeting out. It is a good meeting. You learn a lot. You get to ask questions. You get to hear, other people's questions and hear answers to them. It is really important. And thank you all very much. Thanks, staff, crew, everybody. Future director meetings coming up. Mojave Water Agency Board Directors, April 22nd. Oh, that's tomorrow. Director Jarlsberg, 9 a.m. Yep. We have a Board of Directors meeting on May 5th. This one will be at 5:30. Mojave Water Agency Board of Directors May 6th. They had to change that meeting to May 6th. Director Reynolds, we have you on that one for May 6th. Citizens Advisory Council on May 11th at 6 p.m. Finance Committee meeting. I believe that one.
One quick adjustment on that
Yeah.
particular one for finance, because of ACWA, we're actually intending to move those meetings to May 11th, potentially even completely rescheduling the water resources and operations, because that may be the first time we bring the budget before that committee, so.
Okay, so it'll be May 11th for both of those then,
Expecting
and
a
for
lot
water
more.
resources. Okay. Also meets that same day, but on May 11th. And then LAFCO, all right, May 19th, 9 a.m., that's me. Real quick, people who have been zooming into the LAFCO meetings, what are they like? I mean, really? Director Jarlsberg, you've done that, I think.
Yeah.
Director Doolittle.
No, I think it's pretty interesting. I learned a lot as to how responsible they are for redistricting, and responsible for making the redistricting make sense. You know, not gerrymandering. So it's a pretty important organization, and I think it's going to have influence on us, you know, as we go along.
Director Doolittle, I think you've zoomed into some of those LAFCO meetings, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
Tom, Mike?
I attended one, Zoom or whatever they use. And it was about actually extending water service to an area that wasn't actually in their district, and which was kind of intriguing. But it's a board meeting.
Okay, thank you. BORED, sorry, okay, forewarned. It's 8:32. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.